I would like to talk about Schopenhauer. Hegel. Is there anything to talk about which is not Hegel? And Eminem, and especially the song Phenomenal, try to make the connections between these three apparently separated expressions of spirit. So this is what Schopenhauer said about Hegel. Hegel, installed from above by the powers that be, and the powers that be are God, because in truth there is only God. So he says that Hegel was installed from above by being, which is God. Is the certified great philosopher, was a flat-headed, insipid, nauseating, illiterate charlatan who reached the pinnacle of audacity in scribbling together and dishing up the craziest, mystifying nonsense. That could be a description, a depiction of me as putting together the craziest, mystifying nonsense, and Hegel is the great philosopher. But I've just read the preface, the beginning of the preface of Die Welt als Wille und Vorstellung, the world as will and representation, and it already contains very Hegelian ideas, although Schopenhauer, which was an idea in the mind of Hegel, thought himself as opposed to Hegel, he was actually developing the same ideas that Hegel developed. So my theory is that all the anti-Hegelian philosophers that people think lived after Hegel, so for the past 2 centuries, they were all fulfilling Hegel's system. There was Hegel, and then all the contradictions, all the opposition to Hegel were brought forth in the history of philosophy for the past 2 centuries. And now Hegel has heard all his contradictors. He has heard what all had to say against him, and now he will try to incorporate all of them in his system to make it real in a Hegelian sense, to make it effective, wirklich. And that's the story of philosophy for the past 200 years. And now I would like to quote the lyrics from Eminem's song Phenomenal. I am phenomenal with every ounce of my blood, with every breath in my lungs, won't stop until I'm phenomenal. I am phenomenal. However long that it takes, I'll go to whatever length. It's gonna make me a monster though. I am phenomenal. This is spirit talking to spirit through the mediation of modern pop culture, which is a form of art. And spirit says to himself, I want to make myself phenomenal. It's not that I want, it's the principle of spirit for Hegel is that spirit is the self-manifestation of itself. And it's going to make me a monster because spirit objectifies his own negativity to himself. And this is the mirror of himself, the reflection of his own inner ugliness, in a way. That's the monster that he's talking about. Unstoppable, unpoppable thought bubbles, untoppable thoughts. Yeah. Gotta keep growing, evolve with it. Yeah. The difference between most people and spiritual people is that spiritual people are constantly in a movement of evolution and incorporating their past thoughts, reconsidering them, and thinking new thoughts, and keep evolving, changing, transforming. And every time they go back to old thoughts, they are not the same thoughts that they had because it has been mediated by the very process itself. So spiritual people are constantly moving. But you're gonna find that nothing's gonna stick until you apply yourself. So that's the difference between theory and practice, between abstraction and concrete reality, is that you have to experience your own thoughts. Yeah. Sometimes I gotta remind myself that I am phenomenal because that's the whole story of the phenomenology of spirit, is that spirit, consciousness, at first doesn't know that the phenomenal world is itself manifested. That's the will as representation, the world as will and representation. The consciousness doesn't know it, but the entire process of consciousness consists in becoming conscious that the phenomena are its own manifestation. Yeah. Let me self-empower you when you're down and they're trying to clown the fuck out of you and you feel like you're running out of fuel. I'll show you how to use doubt as fuel, convert it to gunpowder too. Doubt, in the Hegelian view, is the moving force of consciousness, because consciousness attaches itself to certain beliefs, notions, things that consciousness considers to be true, but then in the process she realized that this is not true. There are a higher truth, a different truth, and in order to evolve you have to doubt what you once believed, and the most radical doubter is the most radical doubt is the condition to acquire absolute knowing. That's why doubt is used as a fuel. Step into the unknown and find yourself. The unknown is the non-conscious, the subconscious, the not aware of, and you have to step into the unknown to transform the unknown into something known. That's it. You're floating freely, no emotion. Spirit is free when it finds itself reflected in the other. Unity and identity of self and other, this is spirit. No emotion, because God, strictly speaking, has no emotion, in the sense that an emotion is that which moves you, and although God is the moving force of all things, himself is the immovable, is the non-movable pivot around which everything revolves and turns around. This is what Aristotle understood. It is the unmoved mover. So what is unmoved has no emotion, and what is within the realm of phenomena and emotions is that which is set into motion by God himself. So yeah. The only thing I'm capable of making is amazing. Only thing you're capable of making is a false statement or accusation. It is a part of God's mind talking to itself, is that whatever God produces is amazing, but a part of God in the human form, what we might call the devil, is not capable of appreciating, understanding this amazing being that God is, and so this resentful creature hates, in a way, being, and the only thing he can do is to lie and to accuse, and that's it. That's a conflict within the Godhead itself. Manage to prove who the best man is, prevail at all costs, be the only one left standing. Because strictly speaking, there is only one, and the one is that which always stands. It is the multiplicity that moves and breaks and falls, but the one is immovable. And that's the meaning of this song, and we find this, I've not read the book, but we find probably this in Schopenhauer, and this is what we find in Hegel. So here's the connection between Hegel, Schopenhauer, and Eminem.